The 80s were filled with fantastic one-hit wonders. When we hear the story behind one of the most renowned one-hit scorchers that's still burning today from the original singer who recorded it with an iconic new wave band next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Make sure to subscribe below to be a part of this community. We are dedicated to the timeless music of the rock and roll era. Videos, interviews, stories, all of it here. Check us out on Patreon as well. Now, I'm excited to start a new program on this channel. This is going to be dedicated to the greatest one-hit wonders of the rock and roll era. We're going to call it Bottle Lightning. On our inaugural episode here, we're going to share the story of one of the most iconic songs of the 80s. It was actually a remake of an earlier hit song from the 60s. Let's see, how many times was that done in the 80s? Sometimes it happened in the same week. I mean, in the case of Tommy James and the Shondells, Tiffany and Billy Idol had a hit with two of his songs in the same week in the top 10, Money Money.
Here she comes now, saying money, money. Here she comes now, singing money, money.
And I Think We're Alone Now.
There doesn't seem to be anyone around.
Of course, Joan Jett covered Crimson and Clover and took that to the charts earlier. It seemed to be in the water, no matter the genre. I mean, U2 covered Helter Skelter for Rattle and Hum. David Lee Roth would take a crack at the Beach Boys' California Girls with a music video that matched his mantra. Daryl Hall and John Oates did it with the Righteous Brothers, You've Lost That Love and Feeling. Of course, their usual soulfulness. I mean, it was everywhere. 60s remakes were even really prevalent with new wave bands, which makes sense as this was the music that many of these acts heard when they were children. Motown especially was a big influence on bands coming out of the UK, you know, from ABC to Kajak Gugu, Soft Cell. Of course, Soft Cell remade Tainted Love. Where Did Our Love Go? We covered that earlier. You can find the story of that. English Beat, they reimagined Smokey's Tears of a Clown. Japan actually did a version of I Second That Emotion. Of course, Kim Wilde hit #1 with the Supremes' You Keep Me Hanging On in '87. On and on and on. Another new wave band that re-recorded a cover of a 60s hit was actually put together by Sex Pistols manager Malcolm McLaren. McLaren recruited members of Adam and the Ants to form the band Bow Wow Wow. Of course, behind 13-year-old Annabella Llweilin on vocals. And they broke through on mainstream radio in the US with a remake of the 1965 #11 hit I Want Candy. Bow Wow Wow was not a one-hit wonder in the UK, though. They had a top 10 there with Go Wild in the Country in '82 before hitting the top 10 again with I Want Candy a few months later. Honestly, Bow Wow Wow they're not even a one-hit wonder in America because technically I Want Candy hit number 62 on the Billboard Hot 100. Usually has to be top 40 to be considered a hit. Of course, it went number 22 on the mainstream rock chart, though.
I want candy.
But to be fair, Bow Wow Wow's I Want Candy is much bigger than its US peak chart position. It's an 80s classic and one of the most used songs of the pop culture spectrum. My kids know it. I'll bet that their kids are going to know it. I mean, a remake is one thing, but improving on the original can prove difficult and sometimes even impossible. I'm just asking anybody who tries to cover the Beatles. But in the case of Bow Wow Wow, they did just that. The iconic Matthew Ash guitar part alone puts it over the top. Add in the Burundi drums of Dave Barbarossa. The electric bass playing of Lee Gorman, incredible. And of course, Annabella's seductive vocal yelp, and it's over.
So sweet you make my mouth water.
I don't want to give away the story as I have an exclusive interview with original Bow Wow Wow singer Annabella Llweilin, who will give us the goods. So I'll go into that. As we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. I wear these things all the time. You can go get your own frames at the link below, and you can even try them on with their 3D try-on software. It's amazing. Check it out. Here's Annabella. How you were discovered. I love that story because the great Malcolm McLaren, and they were wanting to put together a band. Tell me the story from your perspective.
I was working in a dry cleaners. It's my Saturday job. He got me fired. And I was just singing to the radio because we had a top 40 countdown. And next thing I know, I went for an audition. And I had Malcolm wanted to meet my mother that same evening. And the rest is history, I guess.
What song were you singing? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. It's I Wish.
Really?
Looking back on when I was a little nappy-headed. I used to love listening to all those kinds of songs because my brothers, I had 3 generations of music to listen to. Pink Floyd, Genesis, Sly and Robbie, and Bob Marley's, and the other eclectic singers from France, Edith Piaf.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lot of, musical inspiration generation-wise from my brothers.
Let's talk about I Want Candy, a new wave classic, a song that's been used as much in pop culture as any song out there. And that, of course, put you on the map here in America. That was a remake of a Strangelove song, which, of course, went to number 11 when they had it in 1965. And your version has, of course, become the signature song. How do you remember recording it or making the decision to record it?
Well, it was actually thanks to Kenny Laguna, the producer, and Richie Cordell, of course, co-produced that with him. But Kenny Laguna was the one that put that suggestion to us to do the song. And I, of course, heard it and said, but it's a guy singing about a girl, so I'm going to have to switch the lyrics around.
I know a girl soft and sweet. I know a guy who's tough but sweet.
And obviously, it was very simple. It'd already been written by as you said, the amazing songwriting partnership of the Strangeloves, whom I had the pleasure of meeting, one of the guys from that partnership. And I was really thrilled to hear it when I first heard it. I remember sitting outside on a terrace in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and hearing a song, and I was going, who's that in the studio singing right now? And that's what I remember. And then, of course, they said it was the song I Want Candy that we just recorded. It was the first time I actually heard my voice just singing without going, C30, C60, C90, go! So it was really nice to actually hear a consistent, it was very nice.
Someday soon I'll make you mine.
The way that you approach it vocally, too, as well as when you said at the very end of the, hey,
I want candy.
because that was different than their version.
Well, we were just doing our version because, Bow Wow was very tribal, Latin American. Obviously, it was based on the Burundi rhythms, and Dave Barbarossa being a brilliant drummer. I worked with some great musicians, of course, Matthew Ashman, who was like the leader / songwriter, as well as the rock star, I think, of the band. He just looked amazing, always. Even with the mohawk, he looked amazing. He was the first to get that done, by the way. But just amazing musicians. They made it their own, the way they played individually. And then, obviously, together we made the sound that was Bow Wow.
The bass and the guitar, and it just it had that
Gelled.
edge. And every time you hear that song, it's just joyful. You had a look, though. You were very influential with your look, with the mohawk, and that influenced a lot of females that came after that. But also the cover, of course, was controversial at that time.
Oh, you're talking about when the going gets tough, the tough get going, when we had our clothes on, or were you talking about the other one where it's Déjeuner sur l'heure, where I had my clothes off. That was based on a painting by Monet, one of the French painters. Because, Malcolm had just come from Paris. He'd done some work in France, apparently, before. He had been invited by Adam to come and work with him. And from what I gather, from what I've been informed over the years. And so I guess that all came about because he had a strong connection with art, and he just thought it would make a great album cover too. And of course, even though we did it all those years later, it was still considered risque, which was kind of weird. And I was only a teenager when I posed near the lake in that freezing cold morning. But it was amazing to see the actual final picture. It was beautiful. I was really surprised how beautiful the whole album cover came out. It's in the Tate Gallery, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Well, on MTV, too, that was right at that moment when the music video came out, MTV was taking off. You were very much a part of the birth of MTV and the music video. What do you remember about making the music video?
I had a lot of fun making that video, I Want Candy. It was on Venice Beach. It was really cool. We did it at Venice Beach one day and Death Valley the next day. And it was just amazing because the director buried the guys up to their heads in sand, which I thought was fun. You know, he said dance around the candy sticks, which I tried to do because it was really windy that day. It was just a wonderful video to make. And I would love to meet the director of the video today because I don't know what his last name was. I kept calling him Steven Spielberg. I don't know why, but I did. So.
That's fun. Been used so much in pop culture. So many different soundtracks. Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion.
Oh my God.
High Fidelity.
But on the fourth afternoon, Kevin Bannister.
Slut.
The House Bunny.
Hi, Hess. Hi, girls.
Hi, Shelley. Looking good.
And Marie Antoinette. That was probably pretty cool how they used that in the film.
Yeah, what a pleasure and a privilege to have that used by Sophia Ford Coppola. And they did a great job of putting it in the movie. And thank you very much for using the song.
Black Eyed Peas, of course, sampled it, and that introduced it to a new generation. Video games, Guitar Hero, of course.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to see it used in a program like Spitting Image or even South Park. I'm about all that kind of stuff. The new generation.
Well, got used in The Simpsons.
If they're still doing this in 10 years, I'll be really happy.
Yeah. They got used in The Simpsons.
It was also, when we did it live, it just had a really amazing vibration. It was very positive. And everyone just immediately, like, just their spirits just lifted. And that's why it's always such a pleasure for me to still be able to perform that after 30-something years on stage. I hope it still comes across the same way. I love singing. I love playing to the audiences. And I just want to keep going forward and doing some new stuff and working with some, you know, new people too along the way. And hopefully the stuff I'm writing today and hopefully in the future will also resonate in years to come.
Thank you so much for watching. Do leave us a comment about this undeniable classic. It's just a feel-good song, you know. What are some other great one-hit wonders that you think that we ought to cover on this show? Tell us in the comments. To hear this song, you can click on the playlist below. To get some great music, including one-hit wonders, click on our Amazon links below. And if you enjoy our content, we would love to have you as a subscriber. Hit the bell so you never miss out. We're always making great content. Also, make sure to click on our Patreon for more content and to become a real supporter of this cause. Help us keep the music alive. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe.